Hi, I'm Emily Munson, and I am an attorney here at Indiana Disability Rights. In high school, I always knew that I would have to go to college since manual labor was not really an option for me. I started out wanting to work in the Foreign Service, but when I ended up interning in Washington, D.C., I learned that you had to pass a physical exam in order to join. So there was no way that was going to happen. And due to a weird twist of fate, I ended up interning at the National Council on Disability, even though at the time I wanted to get as far away from disability as I could. So as I began reading their white papers and understanding what people with disabilities have gone through historically, and how I have benefited from things like a good education and an involved family, and how people with disabilities in my situation who haven't had those privileges are really suffering. I began to get involved in disability advocacy and disability rights. So I went to law school and started in the health and bioethics track. So I have my law degree and a master's degree in philosophy with a bioethics emphasis. Then in an effort, I think, not only do I like to learn, but I also feel a constant need to position myself as more qualified or above non-disabled peers. So I went back recently to get an LLM in health policy law and bioethics. So at Indiana Disability Rights, I am in charge of the employment team. So I handle all of the cases that come in involving complaints against vocational rehabilitation services, and I also handle Title I Americans with Disabilities Act cases, those in which an employer with 15 or more employees has discriminated against a qualified employee with a disability. And then most of my accommodations are very low cost and have been able to travel with me from position to position. In terms of devices, I have a trackpad mouse rather than a regular ball mouse. I have a smaller keyboard because I don't type, but I need it to hit Control-Alt-Delete to start my computer. So I want it to take up as little space as possible. I get cold very easily, so I have a $3 heater from a garage sale. I have two tables, one in the conference room and one that I use as my desk, that are adjustable in height and have a lot of clearance underneath them. For my wheelchair, I have speech-to-text software, and I get reimbursed by my employer for having to pay out of pocket for a driver when I go to meetings outside of the office. I think my advice for a person who is seeking employment is probably the same, regardless of whether they have a disability or they don't. And that is network, network, network. I've found that getting employed is all about who you know. And I think that people with disabilities may not like to network as much because if you have certain disabilities, networking can be particularly difficult, not only from the social aspect, but a lot of legal cocktail parties are such that everybody's standing up around me and I'm short. So it's hard to try and talk to people at those events. But again, you've got to do your best. And if you don't want to go to those, then maybe try and schedule or create networking opportunities that fit your needs, like email someone on LinkedIn and invite them out to coffee. So it's a one-on-one. But really, I find forming those connections is important, and probably especially important for people with disabilities, because once the individuals that they network with know them a little bit better, they will be better introduced to their skill set and competency. The other piece of advice that I would give to job seekers with disabilities is that if you do run into difficulties and you need help, call Indiana Disability Rights as soon as possible, because there may be something that we can do. Our team might be able to make a phone call or write a letter and fix the issue before things get blown out of proportion, or you get disciplined, fired, or other bad things happen.